Listen to your heart, tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart, tell me that you understand. 'Cause you
Is there an audio issue? No audio. Hold on, let me fix this. I think mine's working. You've got no audio. Hold on. I knew this here. I knew this wasn't going to be clean. I haven't used OBS in ages. Where is? There we go. Take two.
Can you hear me now, people? Can you hear me now? Take two. We're back. We're back. We back. Let's get some fire emojis in the chat if we're back. Hugh, we can't hear you. Can you hear me now? Yeah, you can hear me now. We're all good. Right. Listen, what I was saying was, anyway, obviously I did my video that came out on Saturday. We've rebranded the channel. I didn't want the channel to die. New logo, new look, new everything. Joe, like I said on the video, has committed his future to the channel again. He signed the contract. He's here we go. Joe, man, I've had a great time. I'm loving what I'm doing with City Extra. I'm loving what I'm doing with the Big Six. But there's nothing like streaming with the originals. Do you know what I mean?
I've kind of missed it. I haven't missed the work being put into it because at times it was hell. There was so much going on. It was very high maintenance, but after a while, after you have your little break, your little few weeks, you do kind of miss it a little bit. And I've just been kind of sat waiting for this to happen because I knew this is. I've known about this whole project for a while now. I've just been waiting for it to come to life.
Yeah, we were kind of waiting for the right time to reboot this channel, if that makes sense. Like, there's 25 of you in the building right now. We were never expecting, hundreds of thousands of people to be here, but I see most of the names in the chat, beyond belief. Darsh, Johnny Lara, CB, Dano, you guys were all originals, and we didn't want to lose, our relationship and our contact that we had with you. But like I did say in the video, it's going to be slightly different. Obviously, me and Joe are City fans, and of course we will talk about City plenty on this channel, but because I do my City Extra thing, we do want to cover just football. So you'll see Kovacic is on screen, Bellingham, Rice. We're going to chat about the whole lot. It's a football space now, people, not just a Man City space. So all of you are welcome to be involved and share your thoughts. And all I ask you do is just smash the like button. That's literally just it. And subscribe if you're new. But it feels good. It feels definitely good to be back. Let's go. Rizcock in the chat. Big up Rizcock. And there's that subscribe thing. It feels weird. Because I don't usually host streams on City Extra or anywhere else anymore. So I'm a bit rusty. But we do have stuff to talk about. We're going to do videos on this channel. We're going to get guests on. We're going to stream like this, hopefully a good few times a week, as much as possible. Just keep chatting to you. Will you be talking about the biggest league in the world? Is this Saudi Arabia? Is the League of Ireland, says Dennis. Maybe. Who knows? We'll talk about whatever the hell you guys want. But where should we start? We need to pick up on some point of the timeline. Obviously, we can't go back to where we left off. We can't go all the way back there. Maybe we'll just start with the transfers. The big one that I think we were talking about before we left would have been Jude Bellingham, and he's now Real Madrid.
Yeah, I think the last thing we did was, I remember the last piece of content we did because it was infamous. It was the Liverpool 7-0. That was the last thing that we ever did. But in terms of transfers, I think the last big one was Bellingham, and I think we were all confident at the time. And well, we all know how that one's ended up now.
Yeah, Jude Bellingham, it was a bit of a rip. We all thought, to be fair, we did all think that we were going to sign Jude Bellingham, but it wasn't to be. CB, you must get tapping Tobes for Postecoglou talk. That's going to happen. I will get on to Toby about Postecoglou talk, because those of you who watch the Big Six, you'll know that I bigged him up. I told Toby about Ange way before Ange was even linked with Celtic, and now it's become a reality. So all those kind of pieces of content, I can chat to Tottenham fans, United fans, whoever, about what's going on at their clubs, and I can give my unbiased thoughts sitting at the top of the tree, being a treble winner. So Bellingham went to Real Madrid. I suppose, actually, you know what? It wouldn't be fair of me to bring you on here, Joe, for the first stream back. I shared all my thoughts and opinions daily about Manchester City winning the treble. You wanna maybe summarize?
Summarize. I don't think you can summarize something like that. I don't really know what to say, to be honest. It still kind of hasn't. It's almost like, in terms of the just kind of linking it to the transfers, I haven't really given a care in the world about what we've been doing recently, because it's still just kind of just sat there being in awe of, we've just won a treble. Like, I don't really care what happens anymore. We've essentially completed football. There's only a few trophies we've got left to win. We've got the Super Cup, got the Club World Cup. Apart from that, we've won everything else. We've almost completed football, and again, it's a surreal feeling. I haven't really paid attention to any of our transfer business. Of course, I know who we have and haven't signed. I know who we are linked to, but I don't really have many opinions in terms of whether I'm happy or disappointed, because we just won a treble. Like, it's not on my mind of, running it back at the moment. I'm solely focused on, I can't believe what I've just seen, especially considering, we won the Premier League in similar fashion to how we've done in previous years, where we've been behind and then we've come back to go and win it. And the Champions League has always been that, one step too far, that we've never won. We've got close, but we've always, let's be real, we've always fallen apart. We've always bottled the Champions League. There's been multiple years where we have just thrown it away. And I think there was no more fitting winning scorer than Rodri, the man who played pretty much all season with no break, and he scores the winner. I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. I never thought we would win the Champions League. I kind of just gave up hope, especially after last year when we got knocked out by Madrid, because that was painful.
Yeah, I was at most of our knockouts over the years. Like Tottenham, I think I wasn't at one of the Real Madrid games last year. I remember going to the Liverpool game. I think I was at the Monaco game, obviously not Lyon, because I think that was the COVID time. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I was not checked out of the Champions League. I always wanted to win it, but there was a part of me was kind of like, will we ever get there? Like, are we just cursed in terms of that competition? But it's happened. It's happened, and I know it's not old news now, but it's said and done, and we never spoke about it. So I wanted to ask Joe what he thought, but I'm also with you, and there's a good message here from Luke in the chat. Says, I'll be honest, I'm a bit checked out of football right now. I just feel so happy and content. Obviously, I'll be there next season, but I feel so happy after getting the treble. I'm like that. Usually this time of the year, I'd be kind of like, oh, who can we bring in? Who's going to elevate us to take that next step in Champions League? Of course, you guys who'll know me will know I always feel more towards the Premier League. I always want to win the Premier League more, but, I was, cautious of the fact that there was increasing pressure on us to win the Champions League. So, when we signed Haaland, I was like, yes, you guys remember that saga on this channel. I was like, yes, this guy could be the piece of the jigsaw we're missing. And, players getting better all the time. Are we now a Champions League standard winning team? So at this stage, right now in life, as a Man City fan, I'm just chill. I really am. I'm just zen. I'm not too sweating over missing out on Declan Rice. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. I'm not too sweating over miss out on Jude Bellingham. I'm not sweating over De Bruyne is injured for the first part of the season. We'll talk about it all as the weeks and months go on, but I don't have that level of anxiety on my shoulders, if that makes sense, because we've done it. We've done something. And it's not that we've just done it. We've done something that only one club has ever done before, and that's Manchester United, which makes it even sweeter that we've equaled their special achievement in the treble. We have done the treble, so I'm just chill, and it kind of blows my mind. I saw was it Steve McInerney? Someone on the timeline earlier on was saying he can't believe that there's some City fans giving out about the operations of the board this transfer window and this summer and how we're going to move forward. Like, this is not a time, I don't think any of us, if you're a City fan, you should be sweating too much. Well, does that make sense, Joe?
Yeah, you shouldn't have a care in the world what we decide to do. We've just completed football. We've just done. I think arguably, of course, there's a few things up there in terms of just competition by competition, but as a whole, as a season, as a collective season, we have done probably the hardest thing you can do in football, at least in English football anyway, and that is to win a treble win the Champions League, not a domestic treble. Of course, we have done that, but a treble with the Champions League, the Premier League, and the FA Cup. That's probably the hardest thing to do in English football, and we've done that. And I don't get the whole, why are we not signing this player, and why have we not signed that player? Why have we not put this bid in? I don't really get it, because, again, I think at this point we all should just be kind of on cloud nine, just a bit checked out and going, just kind of, if anyone does leave, replace them, which we have done. Gundogan's left, brought in Kovacic. That's the only thing that's happened. Just replace them. And I'll be cool because this squad has the capacity to go on and do it again. Like, one player leaving, Gundogan, for as good as he was, one player leaving doesn't mean, we're going to fall apart next season or anything like that. So I don't think the whole transfer thing is something to be shouting at, because again, just be happy. Just be happy. Like, we've done something that I don't think many people thought that we would ever do.
Well, it may never be done again. I mean, there's every possibility that a treble may never, ever been done again. I said this, for those of you who watch City Extra, you'll know that I said this leading up to the final. I don't think our Champions League winning season, which is now this season, I don't think it was built up to over the course of this season. It was built up to for 6-7 years. 7 years, I think, today, since Pep Guardiola joined Manchester City. I think I saw that anyway. I think we've been building up to it the whole time. And you see, when you look at the whole cycle to get to win that treble, how much it took, how many ups, how many downs, net spending and profits and losses and ins and outs, and trying to perfect the team. And it just shows how hard it is to do. So I kind of don't care right now. And it's not even as if the team's in a bad place. The team's not in a bad place. We've lost Gundogan. We've brought in Kovacic. We'll see how that goes. Obviously, we'd like to think that Pep Guardiola will make any player we bring in better. So can Kovacic get better? Please God, we know he needs to work on his finishing. We will talk about Kovacic, but it's one of those ones whereby you just trust the process, man, because we have no reason not to trust the process. But listen, we're going to talk transfers in general. I know most of you in the chat are City fans and you want to hear us talk about City, but like I said, we're going to chat about absolutely everything. Who is, I suppose, before we talk about individual players moving about, Joe, when I ask you the question, who do you think is most likely to challenge us next season, league-wise? Maybe they can make a dent on Europe, who knows? Who comes to your mind first? Obviously, Liverpool have just signed a couple of players. Arsenal have signed a couple of players. United have brought in Mason Mount. Newcastle. There's a couple of teams who will they'll have a go, but who do you think is capable?
I'm really looking forward to, but also slightly wary of that new look Newcastle midfield. I don't think they'll challenge for the league. I don't think they'll challenge us in Europe. I think they'll put up a good fight in Europe. Of course, Champions League is a completely different beast. We know that already, the amount of times we've failed. But I think that they'll do all right in the Champions League home games. Maybe be looking to finish second out of their Champions League group and give a good account of themselves. But that Newcastle midfield of Bruno, now they've signed Tonali, Joe Linton in there as well. Like, that is very good. I mean, we could talk about Newcastle's depth. Their depth is always going to be an issue in the early seasons. But in terms of, starting 11, first 11, that is a good midfield for Newcastle. They have a really, really solid foundation in terms of starting 11. And there may be a few little pieces in the squad away from being a real threat, because we saw how, they got top four. They were way above expectations last season. Nobody expected them to get in the Champions League spot. And they did it. And they pushed United to third as well. They were almost third. So they're ahead of schedule right now. And I don't think they'll challenge us for the league. I could be wrong. But I don't think they will. I don't think they'll challenge us in Europe. But they're a team to look out for because, of course, they are on the up. They'll probably be looking to win a trophy next year. So there'll be a team to look out for in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. I think when you look at the Champions League, just the history of Liverpool just really, really sticks out in terms of just focusing on England. They finished the season very, very strong when they switched it up tactically. They they did copy us. They put Trent in midfield. And then they signed another couple of players. They signed that Shobalaba Sly. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm terrible. Szoboszlai and McAllister. I think they're looking for another midfielder as well. So they're spending money. Lavia, yeah. I think they're also looking for a centre half, but I don't know whether they'll actually get one. But they're looking like this brand new midfield revamp that could cause problems, because again, they finished. Let's not forget, they finished last season very, very strong. They made a push for top four, which everybody thought they were dead and buried in that. So they're obviously going to be one to look for because I think they will bounce back. And obviously, you have to put Arsenal in there. They pushed us pretty much all the way last season. They've gone and they've signed pretty much, apart from official announcements, signed Declan Rice. They're about to sign Timber from Ajax, who Ten Hag wanted at Man United. And obviously they signed Kai Havertz, which I don't know why, but clearly Arteta sees something, so they have to be in the mix. Although at the same time with Arsenal, as much as they've improved the squad and as good as they were last year and they're only going to get better, they now have the Champions League to focus on as well. So that is obviously one thing that could end up pegging them back. And I think there's a lot of pressure on Arsenal next season to win something because they're in, I think this is Arteta's third or fourth full year in charge of Arsenal, and they haven't won anything while he's had a full season. Of course, when he finished that one season, they won the FA Cup, they won the Community Shield. But in terms of full seasons, when he's had a full season in charge, Arteta hasn't won anything. So there's a lot of pressure on Arsenal to win something next season.
Yeah, the Arsenal one the Arsenal transfers I mean, as much as they do make sense to me, I get it, and I want to talk about them first in terms of transfers. You see Declan Rice up on screen now. Obviously, we were in for him. We didn't get him. He's gone to Arsenal. I think they have a medical test booked this week, but I'm seeing the money, and you see, and the transfer market. The route I want to go down because we've got bashed over the years, Joe, haven't we? We've got bashed over the years for money we've spent and even wages, even though I don't think we have one of the highest wage bills in comparison to some other clubs. I've seen Declan Rice, obviously he's going for 105 million, I think, to Arsenal. He's going to get something like 350 grand a week. Kai Havertz is about to get 300 or is getting 330 grand a week at Arsenal. It blows my mind a bit. It does blow my mind a bit. I mean, with Declan Rice, I do think he levels them up. I'm not, because I was in New York for a week there, people, I missed kind of a week of news blowing up and things happening crazy, but I'm picking it up as the days go on. I'm getting more in touch with it again, but I get it. I do get it, but it blows my mind a bit. I mean, like I said, sorry, Declan Rice, he levels them up, but Kai Havertz, I'm not sure I fully get it, Joe. Do you any idea where that came from? It happened while I was away?
I don't have a clue whatsoever what they were thinking with that one, because if you've watched Kai Havertz at all at Chelsea, I don't know how he was in Germany. I never ever watched him kick a ball, if I'm going to be honest. But I've watched him for Chelsea, and he is so bad. He's so bad. Like, I'm just going to be blunt. I think, again, there must be something that he has that we haven't seen. Maybe it's due to management, and of course, he did score a winner in the Champions League final, which he's kind of just been living off for ages. But apart from that, he has been terrible. He's been awful. At times he looks lazy, like he can't be bothered. He's just kind of mid. He's just average, really. I don't really see the 65 million. I don't really see the 300 grand a week. I think, what did Chelsea pay, like 70, 80 million for him in the first place? Like, I don't see how his agent is doing absolute God's work, because there's no chance after seeing him at Chelsea he demands a 65 million price tag and 300 grand a week. It's just stupid. If you put everything into context, when you think of, we're the top dogs, we are the team that people are trying to chase, and if we're to put it into perspective, comparing our wage bill, the teams who are trying to chase us, our wage bill to there, Kai Havertz, if he was on that wage at City, he'd be one of our highest paid players. And that to me is just bizarre. That is really bizarre. Maybe he does something and proves us all wrong. I don't know. I don't even know what his best position is. He's played up front, he's played number 10, he's played on the right, he's played everywhere, and they still haven't got anything out of him at Chelsea. So I don't know where Arteta sees him in terms of what position and why they've decided to sign him in the first place. I don't understand. If he sees him as a number 10, that's 3 number 10s they've got. They've got Ødegaard, who was either their best or second best player last season up there with Saka. They have Smith Rowe, who they just didn't use. If, Kai Havertz comes in, does that mean they move Smith Rowe on? I don't get it. I really don't get it. Again, I could be proven wrong. Something could happen. He could go mental and score a lot of goals. He might play up front. But I don't know. I really don't know what they've seen in him because I see nothing.
I'm not an expert on Kai Havertz, but I am, and I always have had an interest in German football. And I remember when he was in Germany, he was a bit like, maybe not the same profile level as Sancho, but within German football, they had similar hopes for Havertz in terms of what he'd go on to. Now, you ask me this question any year about any young player moving to the Premier League, the one club I will say do not go to if you are a young player trying to move from a Bundesliga or a La Liga or a Serie A, don't go to Chelsea. Do not go to Chelsea. I would not go to Chelsea unless I am the ready-made package. I'm the done deal. I'm ready to go. Like an Nkunku. I think Nkunku, he's established himself enough. He's ready to go. He's in Chelsea now. I think Nkunku's going to be successful. But Kai Havertz made a mistake, which stagnated his career from going from Germany to Chelsea. Now, I do know that he is a good footballer based off that back when he was in Germany. But with Arsenal, I mean, I think who's in the chat says here, D1 Millie, good to see you again. He says, Hugh, apparently Arteta sees Havertz as a midfielder in his team. That's kind of something you're semi alluding to. Could he pick up that Xhaka role? Could he play, maybe, like you're saying, take Smith Rowe's kind of spot in the team? Where does Smith Rowe go? But it's not the kind of signing that I expected a title-chasing team. They are now, and they should consider themselves a title-chasing team. Declan Rice, yes, he is a title-chasing, improving player, if you ask me. But Kai Havertz, their mistake last year, or something they suffered from, was with Gabriel Jesus. We told them, I told them, you told them, Jesus is not going to come in and bang, bang, bang goals. He's not going to be a hitman up front. He's not going to bring you the clinicality that you need to get yourself over the line. They're relying on your Martinellis, your Sakas, etc. So what is bringing in Kai Havertz going to do? Because Kai Havertz does possess some similar qualities to Jesus. When he's on form, he can be impactful. He can bring other players into the game, and that's all great. But if you don't have the hitman up front to score the goals, when you need one, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle to win a league, which makes it even more impressive that we did it without a striker. But you kind of know where I'm coming from. It blows my mind. I am interested to see what Mikel Arteta's plan for Kai Havertz is, but it's not one that strikes fear into me, which is why when I asked myself the question I asked you originally was, what team do I fear the most? It's not Arsenal. It's not Arsenal, and I know they're very protective and they're very touchy over that situation. They came second. They pushed City, or we pushed them, and they got caught. One of the best football teams of all time, Man City. They did for most of the season. They had a good title race with this kind of thing, but this doesn't seem like a move in the right direction. I'm the same as you. I'm willing to sit back and go, you know what? If he proves me wrong, I'll say something that maybe we weren't expecting initially, and at the money you're earning, you'd probably fucking hope he does. But when I ask myself that question, my one answer is Liverpool. I am fearful of Liverpool next season because I think the hunger levels at Anfield next season are going to be through the roof. When Liverpool have gone from an era in which they just had the season before this one to now, they start to get aggressive. You know what Anfield is like. You know what that place is like. You know what that club demands. I think the signings they're making, what Jurgen Klopp can do, I'm very cautious of them. I've seen a couple of Liverpool fans in the chat here talking about the players they brought in, Slobozlai or Zobozlai, however you say his name. I know he's rated highly. I'm not an expert on him, but he's rated highly. He's going to come in and add some energy. Their problem last year was they had absolutely no energy in the middle of the park. McAllister, if you ask me, that's a guaranteed hit. These guys are going to provide more service for it, like the Darwin Núñez, who I think is going to be a good player too. I think someday it's going to click for Darwin Núñez, and it's going to be very soon, and he's going to be a clinical player. Mo Salah, he still had a very, very good season last year, considering the circumstances. So I'm most concerned about Liverpool, more so than I am Arsenal, even though Arsenal appeared to be spending the bigger dough. I don't even know why. It's just Liverpool Football Club. I just have this feeling with them that they're coming back. I don't know what you think of them.
Well, there's that, and there's obviously we have a horrendous record at Anfield, so they'd always end up beating us once a season.
Oh, that's a guaranteed 3 points for them.
That's a guaranteed 3 points. That's like fucking Spurs. There's also just Pep's record in general against Klopp is, at least in England, isn't like spectacular. Especially the last couple of years, they have managed to, beat us or hold us to a draw. And they obviously, you flip that around to Arsenal. They haven't beat us. What year was it the last time they beat us in the league? Like we keep slapping them every year.
It's 15 or 17. It's one or the other.
It's we've beaten them so many times in a row. It's comical at this point. Which of course records are there to be broken, and it won't last forever. They will eventually beat us in the league, but that record still stands. They haven't beaten us in, like what you said, 15 to 17 attempts in the league. Like, that is ridiculous. So again, it's like the other way around. When we go to Spurs, it's guaranteed 3 points for Spurs because we can't even score. We go to Anfield, it's guaranteed 3 points to Liverpool because we just don't do well there. When Arsenal rock up to City, easy 3 points. Or at least it has been for the last few years. Like, it's just one of them. The whole mental side of football does play a part in terms of title races. It really does test players in terms of how bad they want it. Do they get desperate? Do they remain calm? It's a real mental test, the title race. And we've seen the last couple of seasons now. Last year, Arsenal, they fell apart at the end because the pressure got up. The season before that, they fell away from top four, finished fifth because the pressure got up and they crumbled. That's been a reoccurring theme for Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, is when the pressure gets to them at the end of the season, they crumble. They fall apart at the end of the season. It just is factual information. The last 2 seasons, they've fallen apart in the last sort of 5-10 games and missed out on their target. So that is something that they're going to have to try and get over, that, that hump, that hurdle of finishing a season strong. And of course, they have to try and beat us at some point, which they haven't done in a while. But I'm wary of Liverpool. I think the signings they've made are not flashy, but they're very smart. They know exactly what they need and they've addressed it.
They are Klopp Liverpool signings.
They're Liverpool signings. They're smart. They're not flashy. They don't grab the headlines, but they're exactly what they need.
Like, you remember when they signed Salah from Roma, wasn't it? Mane and Van Dijk and these kind of players. At the time, these were not sexy signings. This was not like when Haaland came to City and it sent shockwaves throughout the world. But we know with Klopp, the way you're saying about Arsenal, the history under Arteta for them at least would suggest that when the pressure's on, they tend to bottle it. Top 4 against Tottenham that year, bottled it. League against us this season, bottled it. We know Liverpool can go the distance. If Klopp gets the pieces he needs to build a team that he wants, we know Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool and Anfield can go the full distance with us. And we're in a unique position right now that no one's been in since literally the year 2000. She said, I've been to the year, 2000. Man United, 1999, they won the treble. And I don't even know how they did in 2000. I don't know. So the question for us is, off the back of a treble winning season, can we go into next season and compete with what I will think will be a ravenous and semi-new look Liverpool team? You're going to have Trent playing in midfield. You're going to have Slobozai and McAllister, and you're going to have the hunger levels of the Darwin Núñez's and Salah's and these kind of guys. Salah's not going away. Salah was never going to go away. He just didn't have the players around him last season to really push for it. So I see someone in the chat telling me don't say fearful because we don't fear anybody, but I'm going to call a spade a spade. If we're forgetting the treble that we've just won and focusing solely on what can we achieve next season, Liverpool are my problem. Liverpool are my worry. I don't look at Man United right now and go, oh shit, they're a problem. They're going to cause us problems. I don't. I just don't. With all the issues around their ownership structure, with the players they need to get rid of, they need to get rid of so much dead wood. McTominay's, Fred's, Maguire's, these kind of guys, and they're bringing in Mason Mount. It doesn't make me go, oh, but Liverpool do, man. Liverpool do. How do you assess Man United, actually? I'd love to know your thoughts on that because I don't talk about them a huge amount anywhere else.
Possibly the worst midfield trio in the top 6. Casemiro's going to miss half a season, suspended again. And between Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes, you are turning the ball over so many times for them, just lumping it forward every opportunity they get. Like, I don't think people understand the fact that Mason Mount is not that guy. He is not him. He's not like the answer, the savior. He is pretty average. He's not really great at anything. He's a good runner. He's a good runner from midfield, but he's not particularly like really creative or like great defensively. He turns the ball over a lot. Same thing with Bruno Fernandes. How many times do you see him try and hit a 40-yard ball over the top and it just goes out for a goal kick or a throw-in? Like, that is essentially what Mason Mount is, but English. Like, they've got two midfielders now who essentially are just going to try as many 40-yard Hollywood passes as possible and give the ball away a lot. And then you've got Casemiro, who, for as good as he is, has sort of struggled with staying available and on the pitch and not getting suspended for trying to choke people and etc. etc. So, in terms of that midfield, I'm not worried at all. And then you look at the backups, and you drop from that midfield three, and you end up with the likes of Fred, McTominay, Ericsson. They're not really like world beaters, are they? They're pretty average. Their squad is pretty average. They still don't have that guy up front. They let Weghorst go back to Burnley. They didn't sign him, so is Rashford going to play up front? Is Martial going to play up front? I mean, Martial, you'd be lucky if you get more than 10 games a season from him, so it's a mess. It is really, truly, it's kind of a mess. And if I'm being real, with the teams that I'm fearful of, I think with Liverpool coming back next season, they're going to struggle. They're going to find it really, really difficult to actually finish in the top four, Man United, next year. Like, they did it. Okay, of course, they had a good season. They won a trophy. They finished third. Great. But Liverpool are going to come back stronger. Newcastle have improved. We're still going to be there. Arsenal are still going to be in and around. United are going to find it difficult to get in the top four. And Mason Mount isn't like a guarantee of, yeah, we're going to get top four because we've signed Mason Mount.
Yeah, I mean, I see some people in the chat here saying D1 and JMO saying Maddison's a better signing than Mount, and I agree. I do. I totally agree. Like, I would have taken James Maddison at City. I think James Maddison is a really, really good player, and surrounded by the right players and under the guidance of a good manager, which he is right now, under the guidance of a very good manager in Ange Postecoglou at Tottenham, he can be a top player. But what I will say about Mason Mount in isolation, this transfer, not Man United's prospects going forward, but Mason Mount as a player, I'll apply what I said about Havertz to him. He was at the wrong place. Mason Mount was, I know he's Cobham, he's Chelsea. He's Chelsea through and through and all that kind of thing, but it was not the place for him to hit his full potential. I think there is a really good player in Mason Mount. I don't know what position. I don't know what system suits him best. I just have a feeling, do I think Man United right now is that for him? No. But I am cautious of it because I know that Ten Hag wanted him twice on loan at Ajax. He wanted to loan him from Chelsea twice to Ajax when he was there. So he clearly has a plan for Mason Mount. But everything you said about their whole team and their whole system doesn't scare me. And they're really trying to big themselves up, these United fans I listen to, saying, oh, but we won a trophy last season. Arsenal didn't win a trophy. And we got top four, yada, yada, yada. I think they're living off that too much and they're resting on their laurels a bit. I think if I was United, I'd be looking for a lot to happen this summer before you're very confident going into a top four race, before you can really go in with chest out and say, yeah, we're pushing for top four. I mean, you listed off that Newcastle midfield, Joe. That's a Champions League knockout stage midfield level. It is.
It's a better midfield than Man United. The better midfield than Man United.
Hands down a better midfield than Man United. So they're up against that as one example. Chelsea, they're throwing more and more cash at it. It's eventually going to stick. It can't not fail constantly. Does that happen this season? That remains to be seen. Arsenal, they now have Odegaard, Rice, and maybe Havertz, maybe still Xhaka, who knows? There will be more business done there. Us, we're still us. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't be going into next season right now as a Man United fan saying, yeah, buzzing. We're ready to go on a top four race. So in terms of them, Joe, I'm not too worried about Man United, but I suppose on Chelsea, as it's crazy season. I saw Liam McMahon in the chat a few minutes ago. Big up Liam asking what are our thoughts on them because they're losing players left, right, and centre. They're bringing in players too, or they brought in loads over the last year or so. The 600 million spent. They've no Champions League football. I believe they've no European football, if I'm not mistaken. They're full send in the Premier League. Do you consider Chelsea a threat?
That's the one thing that'll scare me a little bit about Chelsea is they have a good manager, a proven manager that has a proven track record of vastly improving the players that he works with. But at the same time, the only stuff he's won is in France, PSG, which I could probably win that. I could probably win those trophies as manager as PSG. It's not difficult. Like, he should be winning those, and those weren't even enough to keep it. That's how like highly PSG view those domestic trophies. That wasn't enough for Pochettino to keep his job. So it does scare me a little bit because they have no other focus. They have no European football. They are one game a week, maybe two if they get far enough in the cups. But that's it. They're playing like one game a week, and that is something you have to be a bit wary of because they could run with a slightly smaller squad if they really wanted to. Now, that's going to be difficult with the amount of players they sign and the amount of players they put out on loan that are coming back. But they don't need a bigger squad. They've got one main focus, and that is the Premier League. The other two competitions, FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, they're bonuses. I don't think they'd really be too interested in that. Of course, it's nice to win them, but their main focus will be, get back to somewhere in the Premier League, whether that be in European competition. I think the aim for them would be Champions League, considering how much they've spent. Of course, I don't think that will happen. I think it's very difficult for them to get Champions League football, but I'd never say never. But, I mean, they're holding players hostage practically with their contract lengths, with 7-8 year contracts for new signings, and it's weird. I think they've done incredibly well in terms of player sales in getting a combined 120 million for Havertz and Mason Mount. Mason Mount, who had a year left on his contract, that's great sales, considering I don't think many Chelsea fans, if any at all, really wanted Kai Havertz to stay. I think they're all kind of, it's the right time to let him go. It's just not working, and Mason Mount was going to leave for free in a year. So they've done incredibly well to get 120 million from that. And of course, they ended up signing ages ago, but he's only coming in this season. And Nkunku, the Bundesliga top scorer, on a whopping 16 league goals for this season. It's it speaks volumes. But again, like you said, he's had years to prove himself at this level, Champions League level, year in, year out at Leipzig. He used to be at PSG, where he was in and around the team, and he left for Leipzig for his development, because a lot of young players end up going to Germany for their development. So I think he'll be a good signing. Obviously, again, I'm fearful that they only play one game a week, and Pochettino is probably the right manager, because again, like I said, he's a floor raiser. He improves the players that he works with. And if you look at someone like Mudryk, a good young player, he's the exact type of player that Pochettino will be able to get the best out of. If you look at someone like Harry Kane, for example, of course, not the same level in terms of, I don't think Mudryk will get to that level, but in terms of profile, good young player, a little bit raw, needs a little bit of work. Pochettino is that man.
Well, he did it with Son. He completely did it with Son. Like he turned Son into what Chelsea fans will hope they'll turn Mudryk into, and everybody was laughing at Mudryk this season, and Midryk and many of the signings. But you guys know the situation with Chelsea last season. It was a complete and utter mess. And am I in the boat that I think Pochettino is going to make Chelsea a powerhouse and a placeholder in a title race every single season, maybe like the level that Liverpool did against us for many years? I don't know. I think that remains to be seen. I mean, he made some wild comments today. Did you see he clearly didn't check his facts, Mauricio Pochettino. He says, over the last 15 years, Chelsea are the best club or the most successful club in England. Chelsea having won something like 2 or 3 Premier Leagues, Man City having won 7. So maybe he needs to do his homework, but, Pochettino...
Trophies are not his speciality. Leave him alone.
No, trophies are definitely not Mauricio Pochettino's speciality, but I'm not doubting him. I think he can. I think he can. The same way I think Ange can with Tottenham. But yeah, with Chelsea, it's going to be interesting. And you said they are going to have a much smaller squad this season than they had last season. But I think that's what Chelsea need. I think Chelsea, as a team, and Pochettino, the first thing he needs to work on doing with them is building a core and an identity to that team. You know what I mean? Where you kind of almost know the starting 11 week in, week out. The players build a chemistry. The players build understanding. The fans understand the style of football that Pochettino's striving for. That's the very first thing I would be looking for as a Chelsea fan with Mauricio Pochettino. Make Chelsea an actual football team again, and not just 35, 40 overpaid, overpriced players, all training together in Cobham Monday to Friday, whatever it is. So that's kind of where I'd go with Chelsea if I was them. But I don't think next season is going to be it for them just yet. I'll keep stressing. I think Liverpool are our biggest challengers next season. And maybe we'll get a Liverpool fan on sometime soon. Maybe James Redmond or Grizz or someone, and see what their thoughts are about where their club is going, because I am very intrigued by Liverpool at the minute. I am very intrigued to see how this rebuild under Jurgen Klopp goes. But that's Chelsea, that's Liverpool, that's United. And I do want to have a chat, Joe, about Ange Postecoglou from Australia, Tottenham manager. I bigged him up. I said I think he'd be a good acquisition for Tottenham back in March, way before he was linked with any Tottenham job. And he's got it. He's now the Tottenham manager. They've just signed James Maddison. As I said earlier on the show, I think that is absolutely huge for them. I think Tottenham, almost similar to Liverpool last season, their midfield was just muck, wasn't it? Their midfield was absolutely muck. They were relying on a completely out of form Son, who never banged. They were relying on Harry Kane essentially to do the job of 3 midfielders and 3 forwards, because Kulusevski was injured a lot on his own. So now you bring in James Maddison. I think they brought in someone else today, or they're close to it, and they need more defenders too. But under Ange, he's going to implement that style of play that I'm talking about, that Chelsea will want to see from Pochettino, implement a style of play. I know the style of play Ange plays. I know the type of football he plays. Tottenham fans, you're in for a treat. You're going to be watching great football. So how do you feel about them? New era for Tottenham.
How do I feel? Ange Postecoglou, former CFG member, please let us score a goal. I beg, please. I'll do anything for you to let us score a goal at Tottenham Stadium, please. I'm on my knees. I need it so much. I'm begging, please. But no, they signed Maddison, they signed Solomon, who was on loan at Fulham last year. That was their recent signing. They made Pedro Porro a confirmed transfer. He's now a permanent transfer. He was on loan. I don't know whether they're going to go back in for Longley. For the sake of Spurs fans, I hope to God they don't go and get Longley, because he is terrible. But no, it's really interesting because there's been a lot of mixed reaction. I think it kind of tells you who has and hasn't been paying attention to his work with Celtic, in terms of he's done very well on a pretty small budget in terms of signing relatively unknown players to, the wider footballing world, and managing to still compete. I know the Scottish League is not great, it's not fantastic, but a trophy's a trophy. Spurs are in desperate need of a trophy, so I'm interested. I really am interested. I think he's going to change the formation. I think the midfield issues that you were talking about was big onto the fact of their system. They played a 5-2-3. They played 2 in midfield, and they're both holding midfielders. They ended up playing Højbjerg and one of Bissouma and Bentancur before he got injured, and that's not a great midfield in terms of creativity or scoring goals. Or Bentancur was good before he got injured, but once he got injured, it was like Højbjerg and Skip, and that puts the mid in midfield. So I think he will change the tactics slightly. He'll change the formation ever so slightly. I think Son was playing on an injury practically the whole year, so it'd be interesting to see, if he recovers from that, then does he get going again? Because he had an awful season. How does he get the best out of Richarlison? He only scored like 1 Premier League goal last season, and he cost 60 million, so he needs to get something out of him. Kulusevski, I think they made him a permanent transfer as well. Can he stay fit? Because if he is, he's a really good player. Spurs have got a player in Kulusevski, but he can just never stay fit. And of course, the big one is holding on to Harry Kane, because Bayern are now sniffing about. And, Bayern, they need a number 9. They haven't had a number 9 since Lewandowski. They've had Choupo-Moting up front, which isn't really ideal. So if they could keep hold of Harry Kane, who knows how long they'll be able to keep hold of him for. But I'm interested to see how they work, because they've got a little bit of depth now, a little bit of versatility. Maddison can play in a few different positions. And they've got a manager who he's going to, regardless of how he does, he's going to vastly improve the style of football Tottenham play, because they were terrible to watch.
Yeah, Tottenham are even further down the track backwards than Chelsea in terms of what I was talking about. Tottenham need to just get good footballers in. They need to build an attractive about winning trophies. But I've already said it on City Action. I'll say it here. I'll put my neck on the line. I believe Ange will win Tottenham a trophy. I believe he will. What one that is, I have no fucking idea. But I believe he will. If he will. Do you reckon Ange will go and get Kyogo and let Harry Kane join Bayern? I don't think it's a case of he'll let Harry Kane join Bayern. I reckon Ange is going to do absolutely everything he can to try and hold on to Harry Kane because wouldn't do. Yeah, I think anybody would. You'd want to hold on to Harry Kane if possible. And Kyogo, I think, is 29 now, or he's 29, 30 anyway. So I don't know. It's a tricky one. I think Kyogo would come and score goals in the Premier League, but definitely not to the level of Harry Kane, because Harry Kane is arguably the best or second best striker in the world behind Erling Haaland. So who knows, man? Who knows? A couple of people asking about City here, of course, as this was originally a City channel and still is to an extent, about any midfield or winger links. I saw City are linked with what's his face? Riquelme, isn't that his name, from Atletico?
Yeah, but that was squashed, I think. I can't remember who. I can find out for you right now, but was it Mike Manet? One of the journalists, I have notifications on for most of them, but one of them said there's no interest whatsoever in Riquelme. That was kind of a story out of the blue.
Okay, well, I was going to record a video on Riquelme and upload it on City Extra, but if it's been squashed, maybe I won't, or I'll see how it develops. Who knows? But D1 says he wants Gabri Vega. Gabri Vega seems to be hot pursuit for a lot of clubs. Real Madrid and I want Gabri Vega too. I think Newcastle want Gabri Vega. Obviously, we do too. I'm not sure where City go in terms of signings. Like, for me, I said this morning to Jordan live that retaining Bernardo Silva would be, for me, as good as a new signing, if not better, because we know how good Bernardo Silva is, kind of thing. But if we are to lose Bernardo Silva, who's been offered some mad money from Saudi Arabia, if we are to lose Mahrez, we're going to have to dip back into the market. And something that I've spoken about a lot recently is there's a talent drought. There's definitely a talent drought in terms of wingers. I mean, who could City go out and get? You've got Sané, this Riquelme kid. Obviously, the one everybody would love is the Georgian kid, Kvaratskhelia, but are Napoli going to deal with Man City? Absolutely fucking not. So you can list him off. It's a tricky situation, winger-wise, for Manchester City. So I'm kind of just crossing my fingers and toes that Bernardo Silva stays more than anything, above anything. Keep Bernardo Silva, and I'm a happy guy. But this Riquelme, as Joe says, seems to be, you said squashed. Like, it's just done, not happening.
I don't know about completely squashed. I'm not up to date on how reliable people are. I know he's fairly reliable, but Mike Manet says there's no interest whatsoever. That was after City Extra reported it, and then Mike Manet said it is to my understanding that there is no interest from City's side. So I don't know. It's bizarre because I think most people kind of agree we kind of need a right winger. I think the left-hand side where you look at Grealish, I think, fine. That's fine. I'm happy with that. Maybe depth-wise, I don't know whether Foden is particularly great on the left. I want to see him more central because that has been something for years that I've always wanted to see. And Sergio Gomez is playing on the wing for Spain under-21s, despite being about 23 in the under-21s Euros. But he's cooking on the wing, so maybe that is something that we can see. Maybe he can deputise there, because I think when you look at signing Gvardiol, he's probably going to play that Ake position of sort of left-back, but left centre-back in the three. And I have no idea where Laporte's going to go, because it's a mystery of who actually wants him at this point. So we may end up with so many defenders that Sergio Gomez does end up playing further forward on the wing. And again, he's doing well there for Spain under-21s. Of course, it's not the level of competition that he's going to be playing at City, but at the same time, that's the best that we have seen Sergio Gomez play while he's been here. So maybe play him on the wing, because going forward, he does seem to have a good delivery on him, a good left foot, but defensively he's just not here. But in terms of right winger, there's just no one. There's no one that stands out whatsoever that's like a realistic target. Mahrez is here, Bernardo Silva's here. That seems to be kind of what we're going to rock with next season, which doesn't really excite me, if I'm going to be honest. It's not exciting. Mahrez has been offered Saudi money. Bernardo Silva has been offered, and I think he rejected Saudi money. So it doesn't look like they're going anywhere, which leads me to believe we just won't sign one. I think that's the general consensus is we're probably not signing anyone else apart from Guardiola unless anybody leaves. I just don't see a world in which we choose to sign anyone else, which from my point of view, it's a bit disappointing because I think there is room for us to improve. But I kind of understand because the market isn't there. There's no out-and-out right winger that I look at and go, yeah, he improves us, get him there. Like, there's Sane there, but I don't think Pep would take him back. There's Coleman, but I don't think that'd be one that City look for. And apart from that, you're looking at young project players who, you know, that's not what we're about. We're not about young project players. We're in a win now mode, so we can't. You know, it'd be nice to sign these players for future proofing, but if we're talking about improving the squad, I can't name a right winger that is a realistic target that we go and get that improves the squad. I hope I'm wrong because, again, I've been wanting a winger for so long. Just someone who could switch it up because we're so samey. Like Bernardo Silva and Mahrez, they're one in the same. They're not fast. They're gonna run at their player, but they're gonna focus more on ball retention. It's not exciting. I get Pep doesn't really want that anymore, but you know, it'd be a useful option to have from the bench if we're ever struggling in a game to go and stick someone on who's got a bit of pace and is just going to run at someone.
Yeah. MCFC protocol says Gomez won't break into our starting 11, and you'll know if you watch the extra that that's usually my thought process. But if he's cooking where he is, maybe he has a future and maybe it's worth giving him a go. And he also says we literally have a treble winning team, and I'm kind of with that. It's kind of, when you think about it, I know it's a harsh reality, but the only way is down. Unless we go and win another treble, which I'm sorry, I refuse to believe it can actually happen because it's such an outrageous achievement. You really have to deep how outrageous winning a treble is. It's hard to sustain and let alone improve on that. So the big challenge for Manchester City is, can they just retain hunger levels? I think the squad overall is in a decent place. I think bringing Vardy all in is a very good signing. The money's mad, but it ain't my money, so I'm not too stressed over that. And I think he's going to improve himself, and he'll hopefully improve the team over time too. But the big challenge for City is about retaining hunger levels. It's about retaining that cutting edge ability to go game, like we saw from kind of March onwards to the end of the season, where, as Jack Grealish says, we were unbeatable, or we felt unbeatable, like nobody could come and beat us, especially at the Etihad. You know, teams were quite clearly coming to the Etihad, and from the first whistle, looking like they were defeated because that's how overwhelming we were. So can we hit those levels again? I don't know. I think it's going to be an interesting season based off the transfer movement this far. It's still so early in the transfer window anyway. You know, there's a long way to go. I would say, if I was to put money on it, as a City fan, and for those of you who are City fans in the chat, expect some surprises, whether that's surprises in terms of outgoings or surprises in terms of incomings. I don't know. Definitely your Uniteds, Liverpools, Chelseas, Arsenal and Tottenhams, they'll all do their business too in pursuit of us, but it's definitely going to be an exciting season. From our perspective, can we go again? From their perspective, can they come and catch us? Who knows, man? Who knows? But listen, I think we're going to call it a day on the stream there. We just wanted to come back, have a quick chat, tell you our thoughts. Well, mainly Joe told his thoughts about where he thinks the nearest and dearest rivals we have in terms of top four, challenging for the league, where he thinks they're at. We'll talk about this more going forward. There'll be plenty to talk about as the transfer window goes on. We might go live tomorrow. I'll definitely do at the very least a video, so turn on the notification bell. Do me a favor if you haven't done so already, smash a like on this stream, subscribe if you're new to support. Even just have 40-45 people in the chat at once tonight was crazy, considering this channel has been dormant since the middle of March, whatever it was. So big up to all of you. You should do a call-in show. We might do a call-in show. Maybe at some stage. It's definitely stuff to look into. We're just getting the rust off, Joe, aren't we? We're trying to get back into the groove of this channel.
Yeah, I think we had plans for some sort of call-in show towards the end before we went on our little hiatus. So maybe.
Maybe, man. It's definitely stuff we can look into. Give us a follow on Instagram. You see it on screen there, Humory13. What's yours, Joe? I always forget.
It's in the description. Look in the description.
go follow either of us. Sorry, I'm fucking I've got hay fever here. It's killing me. Go follow either of us, and if you have any content suggestions or things that you'd like us to talk about or react to, anything, fire it our way. So, yeah, this is the beginning. We're back. We'll probably go live or, like I said, video tomorrow. There'll be something, hopefully most days. So, big love, big up to all of you. I'm dying of hay fever here, so I need to call it a day, basically. But yeah, listen, wrap her up, Joe, and we'll see you all very soon. In a bit.
Listen to your heart. Tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart. Tell me that you understand.